The film begins at a lively amusement park at night, filled with colorful lights, thrilling rides, and an air of excitement. Wendy Christensen is introduced as she takes photos for the school yearbook. Wendy is a high school senior and is there with her friends to celebrate their upcoming graduation. Her boyfriend, Jason Wise, is also part of the group, along with her best friend Carrie Dreyer and Carrie's boyfriend, Kevin Fisher. As Wendy captures moments with her camera, she shows signs of unease, subtly foreshadowing her heightened awareness of danger. The group decides to ride the park's main attraction, a massive roller coaster called Devil's Flight. The group approaches the roller coaster, and tension builds as Wendy becomes increasingly anxious. Her discomfort grows as she notices seemingly minor but unsettling details, such as the ride's ominous design and the chaotic atmosphere around them. These details subtly hint at the impending disaster. The group splits into pairs as they board the ride. Wendy and Kevin sit in separate seats from Jason and Carrie. The camera focuses on Wendy's nervous expressions, amplifying the suspense. The roller coaster operator checks the restraints, and the ride begins its ascent. As the roller coaster climbs, Wendy experiences a vivid and terrifying premonition. In this vision, the ride malfunctions catastrophically. The safety harnesses fail, leading to passengers being thrown from their seats. The coaster derails, causing chaos and horrifying deaths. Wendy herself is killed in the vision, along with her friends and other passengers. The premonition is intense and graphic, showcasing the series' signature style of elaborate, gruesome deaths. Wendy snaps out of the vision just as the ride is about to start. Shaken and terrified, Wendy begins to panic. She screams and demands to be let off the ride, causing a commotion. Kevin tries to calm her down, but her fear is contagious. Other passengers, sensing something is wrong, also demand to get off. This leads to an argument between the passengers and the ride operator. Ultimately, Wendy, Kevin, and a few others exit the ride, leaving the rest of the group, including Jason and Carrie, on board. As Wendy and the others watch from the ground, the roller coaster starts its journey. Just as in Wendy's premonition, the roller coaster malfunctions. Wendy's worst fears are realized as she witnesses the disaster unfold, leaving her in shock and consumed with guilt for not being able to save her loved ones. A few days later, Wendy is overwhelmed with grief following the roller coaster tragedy. She's haunted by the loss of her boyfriend Jason and her best friend Carrie, and the weight of survivor's guilt makes her withdraw from everyone around her. At school, she avoids eye contact with her classmates, many of whom are also mourning. Her world feels fractured, and she's struggling to piece it back together. Kevin, who has been grappling with his own guilt over not being able to save more people, approaches Wendy in the school parking lot. He tries to console her, telling her that what happened wasn't her fault, but Wendy is distant and unresponsive. Kevin, desperate to make her understand the seriousness of the situation, tells her that he's been researching similar incidents online. He mentions an article he found about a man who had premonitions like hers and saved some of his friends from a deadly accident. However, Kevin explains, the article revealed that everyone the man saved eventually died in the order they were supposed to die in the original event. Wendy dismisses Kevin's concerns, saying she doesn't believe in such things. She's frustrated and overwhelmed, wanting to leave the tragedy behind her. Meanwhile, Ashlyn and Ashley, two of Wendy's classmates, decide to treat themselves to a tanning session at a local salon. The two are upbeat and carefree, excited about their upcoming graduation and the summer ahead. The salon owner greets them but is preoccupied with a series of urgent phone calls. After showing them to the tanning room, he steps outside to take his calls, leaving the girls to handle the tanning beds themselves. Ashlyn and Ashley, confident they know what they're doing, set the beds to 73 degrees and pick out a playlist of upbeat music to enjoy during their session. As they prepare, Ashley searches for CDs near the counter. She unknowingly grabs the CDs off the unstable countertop. The countertop wobbles slightly, but Ashley doesn't notice. The girls climb into the tanning beds, excited for their session, and start relaxing as the beds hum to life. Minutes pass, and the drink Ashley left on the counter begins to drip small amounts of liquid onto the tanning machine's control box. The liquid causes a short circuit, and the temperature in the tanning bed starts to climb. At first, Ashlyn notices her skin feeling unusually hot but brushes it off, assuming it's just part of the process. However, as the temperature continues to rise, both girls begin to feel uncomfortable. Suddenly, the unstable countertop collapses, and it traps the tanning beds shut. Ashlyn and Ashley panic, trying to push open the lids, but they won't budge. The temperature continues to climb, and the girls scream for help, but the salon owner is locked outside, unable to get in. The tanning beds begin to overheat, and the girls' screams turn into cries of pain as the machines catch fire. In a horrifying sequence, Ashlyn and Ashley succumb to the flames, their bodies burning inside the tanning beds. Elsewhere, Wendy is at home, still struggling to cope with her loss. Her younger sister, Julie, asks to borrow Wendy's camera for graduation. Wendy agrees but insists on going through the photos first to delete anything personal. As she scrolls through the pictures, she's flooded with memories of the amusement park and the night of the accident. The images bring back vivid flashes of the roller coaster disaster, and Wendy feels a growing sense of unease. While reviewing the photos, Wendy notices something strange in a picture of Ashlyn and Ashley. The image shows the two girls posing near a fiery backdrop, and their positioning makes it look as though they're surrounded by flames. Wendy stares at the photo, her unease turning into dread. She begins to feel an inexplicable sense of urgency, as though something is warning her about the girls. Wendy picks up her phone and tries calling Ashlyn and Ashley, but their phones go straight to voicemail. A few days later, the neighborhood attends the funeral for Ashlyn and Ashley. Wendy calls Kevin and asks him to meet her at Jason's grave. When Kevin arrives, Wendy opens up about her fears. She tells him about the strange presence she felt the day Ashlyn and Ashley died, describing it as if death itself was near. She confesses that she's beginning to believe there's something unnatural at play. Wendy shows Kevin the photos she took at the amusement park, pointing out the eerie details that seem to foreshadow each person's death. She explains that the picture of Ashlyn and Ashley looked like they were surrounded by flames, and she believes it was a sign of how they would die. Kevin, though skeptical at first, starts to see the pattern Wendy is describing. He agrees that they need to figure out the order of the deaths and interpret the clues in the photos if they want to have any chance of saving the remaining survivors. Andy and Kevin decide to grab some food and talk about the events unfolding around them. Both are shaken by the recent tragedies, but Kevin tries to lighten the mood by suggesting they brainstorm who might be next on death's list. Wendy reluctantly agrees, though she's still grappling with guilt and fear. As they pull into a fast food drive-thru, Wendy notices a picture of Frankie, showing him posed near a ladder. She points it out to Kevin, suggesting it might hold a clue to his death. Kevin, skeptical but intrigued, tries to decipher the meaning of the image. They speculate that Frankie might fall from a ladder. Suddenly, Wendy notices the order screen flickering and short-circuiting. The radio in Kevin's van begins to change stations erratically, and Wendy feels a deep sense of unease. Her eyes dart around, and she spots a truck speeding toward them. Panic sets in as Wendy shouts for Kevin to get out of the van. They barely manage to jump out before the truck crashes into the van with tremendous force. The impact sends the van's engine flying through the air, slamming into the front driver and killing him instantly. Kevin and Wendy, dazed but alive, approach the wreckage. To their horror, they realize the driver was Frankie. The gruesome scene leaves them shaken as they struggle to process how Frankie's death doesn't align with the image of him falling off a ladder. Later, at Wendy's house, she and Kevin pore over the photos from the amusement park, determined to make sense of them. They find another picture of Frankie, this time with a fan in the background, which makes Wendy realize the photos do indeed correlate to the victims' deaths. Kevin, still uneasy, questions the reliability of the clues. When they examine Lewis's photo, they notice a football coming down toward his head. Kevin recalls that Lewis is at football practice and insists they hurry to warn him. The next day, Wendy and Kevin meet Lewis at the gym. They explain their theory, but Lewis dismisses them, refusing to believe he's in danger. He mocks their warnings, insisting he's in control of his own fate. While Kevin tries to convince him, Lewis continues his workout, doing push-ups with gym equipment. Suddenly, swords mounted on the wall above Lewis loosen and fall, narrowly missing his head. Lewis celebrates his supposed invincibility, but as he continues his workout, the weights malfunction and crash his head. Wendy and Kevin, horrified, flee the scene before the authorities arrive. Determined to save the remaining survivors, Wendy and Kevin head to the hardware store where Ian and Aaron are working the night shift. They show Aaron the photos from the amusement park and explain their theory about death's design. Ian and Aaron, skeptical, dismiss their warnings and continue working. As Ian operates a saw to cut wood, he slips but catches himself just in time. He jokes about death, mocking the idea that it could be targeting them. Wendy, growing anxious, starts noticing ominous signs around the store, a tractor turning on by itself, precariously stacked items wobbling on the shelves. Suddenly, the tractor moves, knocking over a pile of wood. Kevin pushes Ian out of the way just as the wood crashes down. Unfortunately, Aaron isn't as lucky. She stumbles backward onto a nail gun, which fires multiple nails into her head, killing her instantly. Ian, devastated, finally believes Wendy and Kevin's warnings. After Aaron's death, Wendy and Kevin reflect on the events. Wendy realizes that if they save someone, death skips them and moves to the next person in line. Kevin concludes that he's next, followed by Wendy. He decides to go home to clear his mind, asking Wendy to call him if she notices any new clues. Later, while reviewing the photos, Wendy discovers an image of her sister Julie on the roller coaster. Panic sets in as she realizes Julie is next. She tries calling Julie, but her phone goes straight to voicemail. Wendy frantically calls Kevin, and they agree to meet at the graduation party where Julie might be. At the party, Wendy searches for Julie and Kevin. Fireworks light up the night sky, and the atmosphere is lively. Suddenly, a horse tied nearby gets spooked by the fireworks and bolts into the crowd. Julie is caught in its path, and the rope tied to the horse wraps around her neck, dragging her through the crowd. Kevin acts quickly, cutting the rope and freeing Julie. However, the horse kicks Kevin into a table, causing a nearby grill to ignite. Flames engulf Kevin's face, but Wendy pulls him out just in time. Julie, shaken but alive, clings to her sister. 5 months later, Wendy and Julie unexpectedly meet on a train. They're surprised by the coincidence and chat briefly before noticing Kevin sitting in another seat. The realization dawns on them: it's not a coincidence. Death has orchestrated this meeting to finish what it started. Suddenly, the train derails, throwing passengers around violently. Julie is the first to die, her body crushed by debris. Kevin is next, ejected through a window and killed on impact. Wendy, injured and surrounded by the carnage, crawls through the wreckage, only to see another train barreling toward her. Suddenly, Wendy wakes up, realizing it was another premonition. She screams for the train to stop, but it's too late.